Now it gives me great pleasure to interview Pratik Raja, Director, Experimenter. Pratik, thank you so much for coming to Dhaka Art Summit 2012. What made you come to the summit?
First, the hospitality of Rajiv and Nadia, and secondly, very importantly, the energy that I was feeling that the summit would probably give for me when I was here. And thirdly, I think the curiosity of how the outburst of all this creative energy can really come forth through a place like a summit. So three main reasons, yes.
And do you think that they've achieved the goals that they wanted to achieve?
I've come in maybe an hour and a half ago, and I've kind of walked around through. The energy part, definitely. I mean, I've seen a lot of activity. I see a lot of younger people walking around, visitors, a lot of activity happening around. And the artworks have been installed with great detail, and shows in a way a large range of what is currently happening in the country. So I think it's a good way to create a snapshot really of what's happening here. So I think that way, I think it has been a successful thing for me. Yes.
And I know you've only been here for just a little while, but has anything caught your eye in the last hour or so?
I have to really look around more, but I like the set of photographs that we've been seeing here, which is I think curated by the Drick thing.
The Drick Gallery, yes.
That's the first thing. I mean, I haven't seen many things around yet, but yeah, it's promises to be an eventful few days. Yes.
And do you have any advice for the Samdani Art Foundation as to what they can do to make Dhaka Art Summit 2014 even better?
Advice. I think they started on a very, very good note because it's an important venture. I think it'll give a much needed impetus to the local scene. Also the fact that they've invited important people from the arts from all over the world. It spreads the word. So if they're doing things right, I just want them to make it even better and bigger and more curatorially solid, and that will bring in a lot of credibility to the summit, which will make it a biennial event to come to. So so that's what I think would be the way forward.
Important as an outsider coming in and looking at the art is that there needs to also be, I feel, a reciprocity between the international audience and the artist community here, because obviously fantastic work can be created in isolation, and typically, historically, throughout history, artists have produced work in times where they are completely isolated or devoid of any resource, or art continues to grow, and it's not something that will ever be extinguished. But I do think that in this day and age, in a very global world, it's important to open things up so that the artists here get the opportunity also to meet with people from outside of Bangladesh and to
on an international level.
Yeah, exactly. So it's wonderful for us to come in, and we feel very privileged and very lucky to be seeing this work at this stage, where it feels like we're on the brink of something big developing. But I also think it's nice the other way around. I think it's good to create a network of connections and relationships.
Right.
And having, Listen Gallery represents artists from across the globe. We're certainly not exclusively about British artists. And we feel very committed to investing in our relationships in South Asia, which obviously has begun with the India Art Fair and our continuing participation in that fair. But obviously Bangladesh is a very different place, and
The artwork is emerging here.
the artwork is very much emerging, and also the market is very emergent. So it feels like an important time, and as I say, that we could possibly be on the cusp of a real period of development and change that will eventually lead to Bangladeshi artists having exposure in a way that artists from other communities take for granted.
I think that's one of the aims of the exhibition of the organisers themselves.
Absolutely, and I think all praise to all of the very pioneering, brave, relentless individuals who are pushing for there to be more visibility, and I think that's something that we found very inspiring.
By different artists. There's a particularly sound installation by an artist whose name I can't remember, but it's very, very interesting, and it's even though I know it was made for another site-specific place, it works so well here at the Art Summit. It kind of brings a different layer, kind of a different art form than traditional painting or sculpture. Also, some of the photography that's being shown by Drick Gallery is really, really interesting, really, really fascinating, and both some of the contemporary photographers that they're showing in the sort of contemporary section, but also in the gallery section that they're also showing some of the older and more sort of well-known photographers is very interesting. The Young Art Prize is really fascinating. Some of the sort of very young and emerging artists who are coming up.
And kind of the idea behind the summit.
Yeah,
to focus on the young artists.
Yeah, so very well selected and thought about, and very interesting to see in this kind of context.
And why did you decide to come to the summit? It's a long way to travel from London. What was your inspiration?
Well, the Tate has long been trying to sort of broaden its focus from sort of traditional European and North American art. So over a number of years we've been sort of researching in different areas across the world. And South Asia is somewhere that we've got a long history and connection with. We have some really amazing works by some of the masters from India. However, we're really trying at the moment to kind of research different areas. So we're coming to countries like Bangladesh. So some of my colleagues were here in December, visiting some artists and art spaces here. And then when the summit happened, we spoke to the Samdanis, and we decided it would be a really amazing opportunity for me to come and also experience it, because it's kind of a very unique opportunity, especially for here.
And do you have any advice for the Samdani Art Foundation as to how they can improve this Art Summit for 2014?
It's a difficult question, but I think that they've done such an amazing effort for this one in 2012. I think really just to keep going on, they're so passionate, and I think passion is something that is such an amazing driving force, and I think that to continue working with that passion is really important. I think again, just to continue with things like an art prize is really important, because I think it really encourages artists, and I know that the artists that will win the prize will receive sort of a studio and have, and that's really such an important thing for a young artist to have, and especially working in a context which is quite difficult for that to happen. So I think kind of working along those lines and working with those initiatives is really, really important.